Right then, so I thought I'd take a little bit of time this evening to kind of do a proper little walk around the MX5-RS build, and a few people have asked for kind of little bits and what I've done to solve problems, and I'm kind of gonna go into all of what I've done. So it might be a very boring vid to quite a few of you, but hopefully to a couple might be quite interesting. There's been lots of different challenges with this build. As you know, I was meant to be out in it all summer. It just hasn't happened, has it? So yeah, let's get cracking, let's get into the things. I think this is going to be one of the first videos where I actually do chapters as well. So if you look at the kind of chapter list, there might be certain bits of the build you're more interested in. The turbo kit, for instance. Yeah, I'll chapter everything, and then you can just skip the crap you don't want. And go for the stuff you do. So yeah, let's flip the lens around and just go for a little walk around the car. All right, well, there's the MK to start with, looking great, but it's broken again. It didn't last long. We took it to Donington Park and did a couple of laps, and then the clutch lever's broken. So yeah, great. Anyway, so the Mazda, the MX-5. Oh look, my voice has calmed down and I'm a bit more chilled now. I can't see myself on camera. So, right. Start with interior. You can talk about a few little bits with this. Right. So, the seat, the Tillet. Tillet came with no holes in it. So that was fun. I sat in it and sat in it and sat in it. And eventually just went for it and drilled it. What we do have to do to sit as low as possible is get rid of those humps in the floor. So a painful job, angle grind them flat and literally drill through the floor and just mark them up with a paint pen. Quite easy stuff. With the seat so low, I hate that bar, by the way. Those bars, that one and that one, they need to go. They're absolutely dog shit. They're just gonna crack your skull. Anyway, yeah, so the steering column a lot further back and also a lot lower. I've actually dropped the rack on some little spaces. I'll put the links to what I used in that. Really simple stuff. So nice little switch gears. Yeah, all good. And then that brings us to the brake bias. So when I got the car, all the lines have been cut. They were just butchered. So again, I'll add a little diagram in here, but I just specified complete braided lines throughout. The whole car has braided lines using a Venhill quick fit solution or something like that it's called. I can't remember exactly, but basically you just, sorry, it's a quick build solution. So you just build the whole kit, fit it together. I was a bit dubious at first, but everything's been fine, everything's great. Brake pedal feels mighty. So yeah, on some Mark 2.5 brakes and trusty PBS pads all around. Squeal a little bit dusty, but they bloody do the job. They really do the job. So that's got the Mark 2.5 master cylinder as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much the brakes. Pretty boring, pretty standard stuff, but it does the job. The brake bias, two reasons for that. One, I wanted a brake bias, and two, those Venhill kits, they don't actually do a line that would have reached from there all the way to a T-piece there. So I had to put something there, and it was either one of them or a hydro wand. So I chose that. Other than that, let's have a look. Yeah, so you got the fire extinguisher system all plumbed in. Again, things like this take so much longer than first thought. So just plumbing in that fire extinguisher system and moulding all the lines to suit. That's a day's work, because you've got, you can see down there, you've got a nozzle that points up here, up the passenger side. Then you have, it goes through the bulkhead. You got two nozzles there, another nozzle there, and another nozzle. I'm not should be pointing more that way, shouldn't it, really? Yeah, so that's that. Mounting the little ME442 ECU. That's just mounted on a little plate made up. Yeah, the dash, it's obviously all been cut out around the T45 cage. And because of that, I've had to Jubilee clip the glove box so it has something to sit on. So another thing with this cage, it's meant to fit a hard top, but as you can probably see, been able to use the jazz mounts, but I've had to use the, you know, the little line, the little plates you get to fit oil coolers. I've just butchered some of them because unfortunately it sits about an inch higher. So all I've done is got some thick rubber door edge trim and just wedged it in there. Cut these off because every time I was opening the boot, it was just catching and scratching the hell out of it. So yeah, the door cards. Again, there's a company that make those door cards, but I think they're a lot of money when you can just get your poly prop. I did both of these with the poles for about 25 quid. Again, I'll try and put all the links in the description below. So if there's anything you like about the car, look at the description and I've hopefully mentioned it. It's on the ultralight UL12 wheels, flowform wheel. Cheap, easy to get hold of, and to be fair, I think they really suit the car. They're an 8.25, which is a weird size, and the only thing I don't like about them is the offset is an ET20, so they are a little bit close. You do have to, at a minimum, you have to roll your arches, but a little pull doesn't go amiss as well. For some 215R888s on this, and I know people who've gone up to a 225 and really struggled with the arches rubbing, so I'm quite glad, because if you look on like a side profile, they just, on the rim, they just sit and they just fold in, they just stretch over a little bit rather than sticking out square, which causes all those issues. With such a nice classic looking car, I didn't really want to be butchering the arches to the point where I needed a wide arch kit, although I've got to admit, in the future, you know it's going to happen. So it's sat on some ProTech dual adjustable coilovers, although I'm not a fan. I've got the same coilovers on the MK and they feel great on the MK, but I just don't think they've been spec'd right for this. If I could be bothered, I'd work with them a bit and get some new springs on them, heavier springs, but we all know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go and get some Maestras because they just work out the box, don't they? So it's been fully polybushed, a Super Pro polybush set, and the Bauer extended ball joints as well on the front. Other than that, it has the Duraflex engine mounts. I've gone for a medium, and they're perfect, to be honest. I mean, it's a track car slash hopefully race car soon enough. The kind of vibration is what you'd expect, especially with the rear done as well, the diff's done as well, but nothing stupid, so I'd recommend them. The only thing I would say is we had loads of fun getting the engine in the first time because Duraflex do the engine mounts with the bolts far too long, so unless you cut them, there's no way you're fitting them. I don't know whether it was a bad batch. I know a few people have had the same issue as we did and come to the same conclusion and just cut them. So it has the 4.1 final drive in the differential, and the 6-speed gearbox, so coupled together the gearing is amazing. It's probably a bit too short for most people, but I love it that way. And with the rev gauge, with the speedo only going to 100 miles an hour, it just flies up there and goes right past it, and it just looks hilarious. just makes the car feel so eager. I will say that the 6-speed doesn't feel anywhere near as nice as my old 5-speed did, but I think I'm starting to gel and get used to it quite a bit more now. So hopefully give it a few track days and I'll be slick as you like with it. The only thing I will say with the roll cage is that it really gets in the way of my heel and toe, so I'm having to change how I do that normally, but every car has a character, so it's just part of it. So along with the 6-speed gearbox, while that was obviously all apart, I've opted for a 1.6 clutch and flywheel package, purely because you can get them a lot lighter than if you opt for the 1.8 variant. So with that, we managed to get a 3 kilogram flywheel and an ACT clutch kit. Feels great. Nice, nice friction plate, not pucked and horribly hard to use. I will admit that it is a little bit trickier to use. It's quite abrupt and urgent. It's just with being so light, but everything just feels super responsive and super snappy. So the engine is a VVT 2005 engine, obviously not originally meant for this car. So things that I found out along the way I needed: the alternator. You can't fit the Mark 2.5 alternator, you need a self-regulating one off the Mark 1. So trying to find one of them was fun, but easy enough. The only other thing that caught me off guard was the fuel rail. The Mark 2.5 engines only have a feed, they don't have a return for the fuel, whereas obviously the Mark 1 MX5 do. Yeah, finding a fuel rail that fits the Mark 2.5 manifold but has a return was quite tricky. They only produced those cars for a couple of years, but quick call to any of the MX5 breakers and they'll sort you out, no problem. So now onto the good bit, the turbo kit. You're probably thinking, why the hell have I decided to, well, one, cover it all up, but two, why have I routed the cold air kit that way? Well, it's quite tricky actually to package everything up. It looks quite simple. Maybe it would be a damn sight more simple if I didn't have that stupid heavy strawberries in. But we've taken the cold air feed from the skull, where a lot of kits do. I think JKFab kit takes it from there. I would like to make a proper air dam and stream it in there, but it's definitely a cold air feed. The 90-degree bend's probably not the best thing, but again, it's just packaging issues if I'm honest. So the Kraken kit you can see in there, but I'll overlay some footage of before I put the heat shield on. I've kind of done everything I can to just minimize any heat. The Kraken Low mount kit, right, in a nutshell, I wish I'd gone for the side mount. That might be because I've had so many issues with the turbo and I've had to take the turbo off 5, maybe even 6 times now, and every time on my old setup, which was a side mount, I could take it off. It was 4 bolts. You just took the turbo off, whereas because of the nature of the Kraken Low mount, every single time I've had to take the whole lot off. You have to build up the whole unit off the car. So all your lines, your oil line, your water feed and return, your oil return, everything has to be taken off, including the manifold and the downpipe. It's a sod. There's no way to put it. And as this is a race car eventually, everything needs to be easily accessible, everything needs to be easier to work on, and it just isn't. One thing we are doing as soon as possible is on the low mount, it's on the downpipe, it's lovely. Everything about it is amazing. It's a lovely bit of kit and really well made, really well thought out. Once it's on, it's great, but like I say, for maintenance or just troubleshooting, can be a swine of a thing. So with the downpipe especially, it's so hard to get some of those bolts. So we're going to put a V-band on that cast collector, and at least that solves some of the issues. I think on the EFR turbo kits he does. He has actually added that in, so that's one thing I'd definitely do on all of them. But the quality, along with the 3-inch exhaust system he produced and sent out to me, absolutely top-notch stuff. And I know I'd recommend any of Kraken's stuff. I just think the side mounts are just a little bit more user-friendly. So on to the turbo itself. I had JKFab make me a hybridized turbo billet compressor, and again, with the nature of the low mount, we had to actually clock the turbo and produce a little custom actuator setup. Unfortunately, that rod, I didn't realize it had been cut and shortened and welded, and the weld broke. It's a tiny little rod, of course the weld broke, but nothing that threading the bar and just adding a little threaded adjustable actuator rod on was completely solved now. But other than that, the turbo seals, yeah, I've had quite a lot of issues. I've missed 5 track days now because of these issues with the turbo, and in my opinion it's purely down to turborebuilds.com or .co.uk. The company send out inferior parts. Just too many issues, but luckily I do have a nice 60R turbo to go on as soon as the forged rods are in the engine. So I'm really hoping now I get some reliability out of the car. I really haven't had much luck with it so far, and it's been a bit of a strange one because I've kind of thrown cars together before and they've just worked for years, and this one has been painstakingly put together. It's taken me a long time to put it together, and it's just fought me quite a bit. But luckily, we're there now. So I've booked a track day for in a couple of weeks' time at Alton Park. Just a few little bits to do. Got a passenger seat to fit. And the next vid will be on fitting this lovely thing, along with a box of goodies. I'm halfway through making that line at the moment. Yeah, so this is an Astra electric power steering pump. Another thing with the low mount is it just doesn't allow you room to fit the hydraulic OEM setup. So again, this space here is going to be used to fit that lovely little power steering pump. So it'll be quite interesting to see how that feels compared to the OEM setup, and how easy it is to fit and get working. So thanks as always for watching the vids, and hopefully it wasn't too painful, too boring. I know a lot of it is such simple stuff, but it's amazing how much of it you kind of have to go into, and how much stuff kind of catches you off guard really. But it has been good. It has been good to get it all done. I kind of sit back and look at the car now, and I'm secretly a bit proud of it actually. I haven't built a car this full on in so long. It's been great, because most of the time I buy a car and I do kind of basic stuff to it these days. Have more success doing that, if I'm honest, but as soon as I buy a car I want to get using it. So I have like a month, maybe 2 months where I just blitz all the parts on it and then go enjoy it. So it's been very strange to have this for so long and only just now starting to use it.
For those who don't know me, my name's Ors.